Today is the first tax day where the president's big tax and spending cut bill kicks in and people can receive the benefits, theoretically, of them. So how do they feel about it? With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enten. All kinds of administration officials fanning out, touting the big, beautiful bill, as it's called today. How's it working?
Ain't working too good because Trump is paying the piper when it comes to taxes and the American public. Look at this trend. I mean, again, what massive trends we're seeing from term one to term two. Trump's net approval rating at this point on taxes. In term number one in 2018, remember there was that tax cut that was just passed just before tax day back in 2018. Look at this. He was above water at plus 2 points. But down he goes, down he goes. Look at this. He's at minus 28 points as net approval rating on taxes, down 30 points from term number one. If there are benefits that the American people are liking when it comes to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, they are not, in fact, giving the two thumbs ups to Donald Trump when it comes to that.
I'm reading the fine print there.
Oh, yes. The fine print there. I leave fine print and John's able to find it. Among independents, he is 58 points underwater with independents when it comes to taxes. My goodness gracious.
I'm going to circle that. That is stunning. Again, he says he cut your taxes and people are 58 points opposed to it, independents.
Yes.
All right. In general, this is an interesting question. What do people say about taxes in general, whether they're fair?
Yeah, I think this may be part of the equation of what is going on here. Take a look at this. Okay, say their income taxes are not fair or fair. Back in 2018, again, at this point in Trump's term number one, 61% of Americans said fair. There was a big upswing that said fair coming off of Obama to Trump. Trump got that benefit. But look right now in term number two. Look at this. It's a flip-flop. Now the plurality, 49%, say the taxes that they pay are not fair. That has risen 13 points from this point in Trump's term number one. And look at this. The fair has plummeted down to 47%. That is near an all-time low since 1999, who said that their taxes are fair. And John's off there shaking because these numbers are unbelievable.
Well, because it's after President Trump pushed through this so-called big, beautiful bill, which he says, will give people these tax cuts, which they presumably would be feeling today. So how, what's approval overall of that now law?
Okay, we've saved the best for last, or at least saved something good for last. And I think this kind of puts a nice big ribbon, a nice big bow on this segment. Take a look here. Net approval rating of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Look at this. The American people, they don't like it. They don't like it. Look at this, 20 points underwater. And look among independents. Independents, the name of the game. We have seen Trump over and over and over again struggle with independents. And you see it right here. Look at this, 41 points underwater. No wonder that Donald Trump is struggling so much when it comes to the American public and taxes, because the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the big, big, beautiful bill everyone's talking about, the American people, Johnny Berman, simply put, do not like it.
The signature legislative achievement, as it is now mid-April heading into the midterm elections, this is where it stands.
April 15th is usually met with groans and stress, but the Republicans are trying to refile today as a win. Thank you, Nia. From the Trump administration officials to Republican senators and House Speaker, the party is mounting a full-scale tax day blitz.
It's tax week and we're celebrating major tax cuts around this country.
Why is tax day a good day? Because you're going to have $300 more per month to spend. Why? Thank you, Republican.
Thanks to the working families tax cuts, Americans in all 50 states are benefiting from taxes that are lower and simpler and fairer for their families.
The Treasury Department says millions of Americans are claiming at least one deduction from President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill on tips, overtime, senior citizens' income, and car loan interest. Average refunds are up more than 11% from last year, but still falling short of what the Treasury Department originally projected. My panel is back now. There's rebranding, Trump style, and then there's this.
Yeah, I mean, the communicator in chief, the president, whether he sticks to this message is the big if here. We saw the early taste of that this week when he had the DoorDasher come to the White House to deliver burgers to the president and talk about no tax on tips, and he handed her a $100 bill, but most of that encounter ended up being about the Jesus picture that the president posted. So whether he can stick to that message, he's going to Las Vegas tomorrow. He's supposed to be talking about this. We've seen this movie before where the president is supposed to pivot and focus on his economic policies. He's supposed to not be launching personal attacks or just crazy posting things on the internet big if on whether we're actually going to get there today.
Yeah, and listen, this was supposed to be something that was key to Republicans' messaging for 2026 around affordability heading into the midterms. The problem is America is at war, and prices are higher as a result of that. So maybe you get $300 extra a month, and certainly lower than what they promised. It's going to be eaten up pretty quickly because you're paying over $4 at the pump at this point. So they're sort of like they wanted to do one thing in terms of focusing on this, but circumstances change because of a choice that Donald Trump made to launch a war.
So you saw some of those social media videos that are out today. Here are some paid videos by the National Republican Congressional Campaign, the arm that tries to get House Republicans elected. I want to play that, and then also the Democratic candidate for Senate in Texas to see the contrast.
Democrats made it harder to get ahead, spiking inflation to 40-year highs. But Nick Begich changed that, voting for real tax relief that puts more money back in your pocket. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and a double child tax credit. David Valadao delivered help for working families.
It's tax day, and this year, nearly every American will pay more in taxes except for billionaires. For 50 years, billionaires have bankrolled political campaigns. Then their puppet politicians turn around and rewrite the tax code to favor those rich donors.
And let's look on this tax day at how people are feeling, certainly versus last year. Check this out. The question in this Fox poll was, are taxes too high or about right? Let's look at 2025. So this is the year that the president's big, beautiful bill passed. The answer to too high was 59%. Now, 2026, just a year later, it's gone up to 70%. So it's gone the wrong way.
Look, it's a great indicator of how people are feeling about their bottom line. And to Nia's point earlier, it's the money that you're spending every day. You see those prices at the gas station. I mean, there's no better advertisement for just the real economy than that. So I think that probably explains it. I mean, obviously, thinking back to the beginning of this year, so many Republican strategists were telling us by April, the affordability message is going to be front and center. The president is going to have crossed that hurdle. He's going to be, traveling across the country talking about this. Circumstances changed, which often happens in politics. Sometimes with things out of your control. This is an example of something in his control. He decided to launch this foreign policy challenge in Iran, and this is where people find themselves. But I think just as a broader point there, perhaps people are getting money back in their refunds, but it's an open question how long they're going to remember that when they have to get gas next week, the next week, the next week, et cetera.
Yeah, and then there's the question of sort of the haves and the have-nots, and one of the big issues the Democrats have been pushing because they're hearing about it from people back home is the fact that rich people aren't paying enough in taxes, and just the opposite. So we have a poll on that. What bothers you most about taxes? The question, rich people not paying enough, 38%. So a third of people are saying, yeah, rich people aren't paying enough in taxes. To be honest, I thought it would be higher than that, but it is telling when it comes to what Democrats are looking at and trying to craft and already crafting on their message.
Right, and as we get closer to November, we're going to be hearing a lot more of those messages, looking at like the CBO studies from the One Big Beautiful Bill about what those impacts will actually be long term and who was really benefiting from it. Those returns this year are higher, but they're not expected to be quite so high next year. And as Jeff was pointing out, by November, are people still going to be remembering that? Are they going to be looking at, gas prices still might be high, housing costs are still high in many places, mortgage rates are still higher than the president's been talking about trying to fire Jerome Powell because he's been putting this pressure campaign, but that's one that's still a sticking point. You talk to people out, they want to sell their home, their kids want to buy a home, that it's a general feeling of just things are hard right now.
And on that, you mentioned refunds. So we do have another graphic that we want to put up, which is the question of whether or not the gas prices, which have spiked on people's actual wallets, whether or not they cancel out the refunds that the administration is understandably, and Republicans, touting today. And the answer there, you see it,
$8
is yes.
Yeah, so you get, I mean, it's all canceled out. And there is a pressure and a strain that Americans are feeling right now. My wife talks to me all the time about the price of gas, right? The price of groceries, everything. And you know, we're doing pretty good relative to other Americans. So I can imagine if you are in a lower economic bracket, how this pressure feels. And this sort of branding that Republicans are trying to do, you can't really do that because people experience economy every single day. Plane prices, my goodness, you know, we're trying to go to, you know, Chicago, and it's like the prices that we're paying this year versus what we paid last year are just, you know
how planes get up in the air?
I think it's
Gas. Fuel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not magic, right?